Spencer, welcome to the channel. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to visit with us today. The 2024 season is just around the corner, just a few weeks away now. And you guys, you have some exciting news. I think it's your sixth full-time season as a Truck Series driver, but your first as an owner, a co-owner with Freedom Racing Enterprises. So that's a big step. I know Denny Hamlin's talked about it, going from just a driver to an owner. So tell me how this came about and how long has this been in the process?
Yeah, so when I got in the sport 9 years ago, I'd say if someone told me what we're doing now, I would have laughed. But in reality, the last couple of years, watching what Jordan Anderson's built, being really good buddies with Bobby Daughter, and seeing what he stood the test of time and had success, and then you look at Tommy Joe Martin's, what he's done. So for me, it was like, okay, I want to be in the sport a long time. Obviously, I'd like to achieve more as a driver, and kind of felt like the opportunity to do my own deal, have a little more control, could result in a better result. So time will tell, but I feel like we're on the right track. And then just timing, right? I talk to people all the time about racing and marketing and kind of where I came from. And I talk about it's when opportunity meets resources. That's the perfect kind of analogy of racing. And for us, that opportunity of GMS selling their equipment and getting out of the Truck Series was the perfect time. And then really just lining up with my partners, there was the resources to put it together and make it go with this deal.
Okay. So I noticed you chose the 76 car or 76 number, and that was a number you had several years back. So tell me the significance and why you selected that number.
Well, I had the 76 car. I got to pick my number in 2018 with Bobby Daughter. Most of my partners are very veteran friendly, patriotic. So with Grunt Style on board back then, it just made sense to have the 76 for 1776. And it's always been a number that I loved. I thought it looked great on a car. I knew it would look good on a truck. And then just it had a lot of significance to me. My first full-time year in NASCAR. So I felt like, okay, when we start this team, one of my main partners and investors is Chris Miller with Freedom Warranty. So Freedom Racing Enterprises definitely needed to have the 76. So that's where it came from. Unfortunately, I don't have the little 17 ghosted into the 7 like I did back in the day. There's a few more rules around that, but we got the 76, so I'm stoked.
So, it was a few years ago that you started off the season at Daytona. I think it was 2019, and you finished fourth. Then later that year, you won at Talladega. So I think it was 5 seasons ago. So, I mean, you talked about kind of feeling like you might have a different result with you being in control. I know that's a common philosophy in business. A lot of people, I've done it in the past. If you want to do things right, you're going to have to do them yourself, right? So you've taken that responsibility upon yourself as now not just a driver, but an owner, assembling the team, knowing what you need, what you want. So can 2024 be replicate what you did in 2019?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have asked me what our goals are, right? 2019 came in, had really good super speedway runs, obviously picked up that win, which kind of put me on the map within the NASCAR fan base. And then we averaged 17th place. We had a lot of top 20s. So I thought over time that would become something that was normal, right? And unfortunately it didn't. So when you start looking at the statistics and your partners and year in and year out, you kind of start talking about what you could do differently and looking at scenarios. So for us to go replicate 2019 would be fantastic. In all honesty, I also feel the Truck Series is a little deeper than it was then, just as far as how competitive it is. I mean, I don't know if the fan base realizes it, but there are so many trucks on big budgets out there and really good teams that have grown. So for us to go out there and accomplish that as a single team would be great. I mean, Chevy's helping us. There's a lot of people that have dove in and helped us on this deal, and having Jeff Hammond as a GM, I feel like we got some great people surrounding me. Now I just got to go take that great opportunity and produce results on the racetrack.
So you mentioned goals. That was actually my next question after talking about the 2019 season. So what are the goals? Do you have like, we want to get this many top 20s, this many top 15s, this many top 10s? What do you have those identified?
I think it's something that you have to be able to move throughout the year. So we know we have really good equipment, and we were able to get that from GMS. So you know the pedigree is great of the vehicles. Like you said, I got to handpick people, which when you drive for someone, that's a lot harder to do. You definitely can't handpick everybody. You might be able to grab one piece of the puzzle. So that has had a lot to do with what we're doing. In this scenario, I was able to handpick everybody. So I would say out of the gate, go have a strong run. We know we have a good super speedway truck. I've had a good history of it. We have a great spotter in Joe White. He's won super speedways and trucks. So we feel like we have the pieces to the puzzle. And then when we get out there, let's say we go out to Vegas and we finish 25th, then that's not where we want to run. But that's our jumping off point. We need to adjust, and we need to figure out how to get in the top 20, right? If we go out there at mile and a half and we click off a couple top 20s quick, then I would say hopefully by the end of the year, we're knocking on the door of a top 15. I think I realized over time that you have to adjust your goals. If you just sit there and pick a goal, it may actually be too achievable, or maybe something completely unrealistic. And then you're holding people to a standard that just doesn't make sense. So we're going to open up Pandora's box here in the first 4 or 5 races. You go from road course, short track, mile and a half, super speedway. You get a pretty good taste of where you're going to be. And then we'll just tackle the season one race at a time.
Okay, so you talked about you're able to handpick, and obviously Jeff Hammond is kind of the marquee name of all of those. So tell me your relationship with Jeff, where it go, how far back does it go? And I mean, this guy's a 2-time Cup Series winning crew chief. He's very recognized in the industry. So how does Spencer Boyd approach Jeff Hammond and say, "Hey, I want you to be my GM"?
Yeah, it wasn't one phone call, that's for sure. Jeff and I have become friends over the last couple of years. We both, he is really big in the Western industry, rodeo and such. And myself, a lot of my partners cross over in that industry. And I've been to the NFR, the American, done appearances, rode horses down the boulevard at Las Vegas, right? So we know a lot of the same people. We were able to kind of connect outside of racing first, and then dove into hey, what's your career look like? This is what I know. What is the true? Where did you come from? What do your parents do? Where did the origins of Spencer Boyd come from? And we became really good buddies over the last couple of years. Started talking about what I was thinking about doing. Right? Hey, I have these partners. We're talking about doing this. I think GMS is where we need to go get some trucks. So last year we got a couple trucks. The next thing you know, it turned into, wow, there's a lot of trucks available. And Jeff had a relationship with Mike Beam. And as the cookie crumbled, it was like, okay, hey, you're kind of going from a mentor and someone who's helping me to, I think we need you to be involved. And what do you have going on? How busy is your schedule? And is this something you want to do? And he's like, hey, I want to be a part of it. I think I can bring some value. And then we start kicking ideas around, and here we are. So really fortunate, like you said, to have a guy like him in this. Definitely adds credibility to what we're doing. He's been able to tell me some things that I may have been doing wrong and point me in a good direction already. So hopefully that continues.
So, last year they talked about, I think it was Steve Phelps in the State of the Sport address, or maybe it was Steve O'Donnell, but they were talking about how going forward with the Netflix series, they really want to capture in NASCAR how you guys have this ability, like Kyle Larson has the ability to hit this one spot, and I've referred to it as the badassery, because I think people don't realize outside of NASCAR that really aren't into it, the guts it takes to do it, right? Because to get in a car traveling at that rate of speed, that's tricky by itself. But then doing it and being successful and being at the top levels of NASCAR. So when you step back, I think I saw something where you said where you could talk to your 20-year-old self, and you look at what you do. Talk to me about the badassery that is NASCAR and being a part of that community.
Well, I feel this community is addicting, right? You grow up racing on short tracks, watching it on TV, and saying, "Man, I really want to be a part of it," right? Then some of us are fortunate enough to get into the sport, and then you're worried about, you're in a constant worry when you're in this sport. It's, am I good enough? Am I going to have sponsors? Is there going to be a team that wants me? Am I going to be a flash in the pan? Like, all these things cross your mind. And then you fall in love with it. You meet a lot of people and you tell yourself, man, I don't want to get a real job. So then you start looking at, how do I make a go of this, right? How do I embed my feet into this sport? And as a driver, to make it 8 seasons driving for other people, I thought, from my beginnings, I thought that was pretty wild and cool. It is badass. There's not a lot of people that get to say they're a professional NASCAR driver. There's even fewer that get to say they want to race, albeit a speedway race. I'd love to go click off a Martinsville win or something, but at the end of the day, super grateful for what I've been able to accomplish and the people that have helped me. But this sport, the ownership side is very appealing, because I feel like the sport is going places. You've watched what happened with the charters in the Cup Series. You've
Right.
seen the names that have in the sport. The driver pool coming up in the sport. Say, 3 to 5 years from now, I'm not driving. Somebody else is driving. That's why I didn't want to see the name be Spencer Boyd Racing. I wanted to build a brand, keep it patriotic, and Freedom Racing Enterprises sounded great. The acronym was almost free, no pun intended. So that's kind of where this went. And speaking of Steve O'Donnell and guys like that, I think we got a good group of leadership within NASCAR. Some people might say you have to say that, but when you're investing as much as you have to start a team, you really do have to believe that.
So we're going to wrap up. I'm going to do I call it my finishing 5. All right. So it's going to be 5, not necessarily rapid fire questions, but questions where I want you to just, they're different questions. A lot of them are NASCAR related, but there's only 5 of them. So let's get started. If you could race any historical NASCAR driver, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
You have to go with Dale Earnhardt Sr., right? Um, just growing up, watching the movies, right? My first go-kart race was on the day that Senior passed away. Oh, wow. And we heard about it on radio on the way home from my first go-kart race. So that kind of hit home of like, wow, that's a legend, and you didn't expect it. And then my whole household was a Senior fan. Now we're junior fans, and that's why I think it would be cool to race Senior.
Okay. What is the funniest moment that's happened to you at a race?
Ooh. Funniest moment would be probably getting the finger from Jimmie Johnson at Richmond in a Cup car. I was just laughing because I knew I was getting lapped. I wasn't in the greatest car, but he was struggling to get around me, and I had him on the outside, and he was on the outside of me, and I just kept driving it down in there, holding my ground. And then finally he was like, dude, what are you doing? Let me go. I'm racing on the lead lap. So I thought that was cool. And then I got to mountain bike with him not too long after that. And I'm like, I was the guy that you gave me. I know. So that was pretty cool.
That's a really good memory. What is the scariest crash you've seen or been a part of? Either or.
My wreck at Kentucky was pretty sketchy. When I cleared myself on Natalie Decker and knocked the front end off the truck. Kentucky's pretty wild. That was a hard hit, definitely the hardest. So I think I missed a couple of races after that. So I think that's when I really appreciate being a NASCAR driver and realizing that this sport goes on without me, no problem. Probably a lot of people didn't even know I wasn't there. So made me appreciate being a race car driver.
Well, this wasn't in 2022 when you dislocated your shoulder, right?
That was Las Vegas. So that was another hard hit. Different crash. But that one required surgery. So definitely sticks with me.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. So outside of the car, how many tickets have you ever received? speeding tickets?
I don't want to answer that. I try and do a good job. I've done a lot better in my 20s. I'll leave it at that.
I'll tell you, Ben Rhodes said the same thing, so you're in good company. um, and what is the coolest thing about being a NASCAR driver?
Honestly, I think the coolest thing about being a NASCAR driver is being able to say that I accomplished my dreams. I think a lot of people don't get that in their lifetime. So I kind of joke around with my buddies and say, man, from here on out, everything's on house money. Um, you kind of hit that goal and you're good to go. So everything from here is just fun, and try and extend that fun as long as you can.
Right. All right, Spencer, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us here at Beating and Banging. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Freedom Racing Enterprises can do in 2024. I wish you and your team the best of luck, and we'll see you at the track. I'll see you at COTA here in a little over a month or so.
Sounds great, man. Look forward to it. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.